get started. Hopefully a few more people will trickle in, but we do have someone upstairs recording this, and we'll push it out to any families that couldn't be here because of activities and things of that nature. My name is Ryan Salisbury. I'm the principal here, and just want to welcome you all to Sheyenne High School. Just get into the presentation. Just a little bit about Sheyenne. This building opened up in 2007 as a 9th grade academy. So we housed all the district 9th graders for a number of years until we turned this into a full-fledged high school. We expanded the building in 2013, had our first graduated class in 2016, and have had one ever since then. We have great co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities, and we're the largest high school in North Dakota currently. When I look today, we're at, I think, 514. That number changes about every 10 minutes. Goes up a few, comes down a few, up a few, down a few. So we'll probably start the school year right around 1,520 students or so. And we've been hovering around that number for a handful of years now. So we're accustomed to it. It gets a little bit tight, but we do some unique scheduling that allows for it to work. So just want to introduce our administrative team. You can see up there, and if you picked up a schedule, you'd have seen something similar in terms of the alphabet. We operate under alphabet groups, and so we typically see students that have the last name that you see up there. Okay, and we each work with our counselor partner. And we'll show you a slide on that too. But you've got myself at the front of the alphabet, Dr. Matt Lon over there, Ryan Godell, our Dean of Students, former math teacher here. Seth Lackowitzer is not currently in the theater. He's one of the assistant principals, and then Miss Janet Oisted over there rounds us out administratively. We have an SRO officer, Aaron Oslin. He will be with us. He started a little bit into last year, so back for his second year. And so he's been a great resource to us. And then Corey Herman in activities. Want to say anything about activities before you head out? Are you good?
Are you ready for me?
I'm ready.
All right. I just want to let everyone know that we do have a lot of activities, a lot of options, everything from all of our clubs to our sports to our music programs, different theater productions that we have. So if there's something that you're interested in, come down to our office and ask us about it, okay? Because we probably offer something. There's fishing league in the summertime. There's a trap shooting team. We have robotics. There's a lot to do. I also want to mention that there's been a lot of questions about activity passes this year. We are getting rid of activity passes for high schoolers. So all high schoolers can get into events for free just by showing their student ID. Now they do have to show their ID in order to get in. Okay? Middle schoolers, they still have to have that pass. Okay? But yes, please reach out to us, ask us lots of questions. Our office is right next to the main office, and we'll get you signed up for something. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. And students, you'll get your student IDs on Thursday. You'll spend a couple of hours in your advisory group doing different activities, and that'll be one thing that you'll do is you'll get that activities pass handed out to you. This is our counseling team. I work with Jessie Riley. She's my partner. And then you can see the breakdown there with Laura Baker, Crystal Haugen, Aaron Burgett, and Jess Steiner. And so they are a wealth of information in terms of any kind of academic, college, career guidance. The one picture I don't have up there, we hired a new career counselor. Her name is Corinne Strapp, and so she'll be working with us. She showed up today for her first day. I think we hired her last week, and so she'll hit the ground running, has a little experience in the Fargo school system, and so she'll help with any of that career advising that your students will need as we go forward. Here's our bell schedule. We will not run this schedule on Thursday. I'll be sending out a reminder of what that schedule looks like. I'm going to do that in the morning, so all families will get that. But every other day, these are the schedules that we run. And so if we take a look at the top one, that will typically run Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then starting on September 7th, when we have our first late start for students, that schedule goes into effect. So until September 7th, that top one is the one that we will use. That makes sense. Okay? And then our 1 hour late starts run from September 7th to April 19th. We have a couple of other schedules that will roll out for certain events, and we'll push that stuff out to everybody as needed. Otherwise, it just gets a little bit too confusing, but these are our main ones. Is there anyone here that is coming over from Liberty? Most of you? Did you use eHall Pass at Liberty? Yes, so you're accustomed to that. Basically, it's our pass system. We don't do paper anymore. Our ladies in the office can send you a pass for an appointment. You can create a pass because you need to leave to use the restroom or something like that. And your teacher can accept and create passes for you as well. Pretty straightforward and simple. Your teachers will talk to you a little bit about when it's appropriate to do that in class. Probably not super appropriate when they're up in front delivering information to you, but they'll talk to you about that. And that's something you can do on your iPad very easily. Flex time. So until September 8th, we won't be working with this schedule at all. But on September 8th, you'll have the opportunity to engage in some flexible time. Okay? And if we go back, you see that flex at the top from 9:12 to 9:53, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting September 8th, you will have some flexible time. We use Flex Time Manager. It's a website that offers a service to us. Teachers will put in some activities or office hours or open study halls, things like that. And if you need to go see somebody because you're behind, you didn't understand, you missed a test, or you just want to go to that person and do some work, you can search through the directory and pick where you want to go. Okay? The key is that you need to pick ahead of time. You'll go in there, we'll do some training on this in our advisories, so that you all know what to do. But essentially, you get 41 minutes a day, 4 days a week, that you can go get help if you need it. We're going to continue to try to build in some volunteer opportunities, trying to reach out to the community to see what we can bring in. We have a lot of students that want to volunteer, but not a lot of time during the day where they can drive somewhere or we can transport them. And so if you have any connections and you know of entities that need work done that can be brought into our building, reach out to me, please. I would be happy to help coordinate anything that we could, because that's a popular activity that our kids want to do. So like I said, you choose who you want to see, when you want to see them. Sometimes your teachers are going to request you. Okay? Sometimes we have students that kind of want to drag their feet and they don't want to do their work, or they don't want to do what's expected of them, and so a teacher may request you. If you're on the eligibility list, and we'll talk about eligibility in a little bit, but if you're on that list, chances are that teacher's going to request you to be there. That means that you're locked into that session, you can't choose. So, but it also means that you can get some help and potentially get yourself off that eligibility list. Things to know. This year, we won't have any sessions in the multi-purpose room. We did last year, didn't work really all that well. It was too big of a space, and not enough structure, I guess. And so we're gonna stay away from that. There'll be some open study halls you can choose. If all you wanna do is go get some work done, we'll have some places that you can do that. If you show up and you're not on somebody's list, teachers have the ability to add you in, but they're not expected to do that. We're expecting you to sign up ahead of time so that you have a place to go. Okay? Take ownership in this, and do this for yourself. And then some kids will try to skip flex time, and I guess if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but we're providing you time to get whatever help or intervention that you need. And so if you do that, you potentially run the risk of some natural consequences like failing a class, having to retake it, or maybe a potential loss of privileges. If there's any upperclassmen here that would have an open period, that period may go away, and we may lock you down until we can get you moving in the right direction. Okay. This is something that has been overlooked in the past, and I think it needs some time. Is there anyone here that is not real familiar with the building? Okay, a handful of you, good. So here's some tips. I'm going to refer ahead to this visual and back to this from time to time. But our building is set up into wings. Anything with a 1 in front of it is on the first floor. Cleverly, anything with a 2 in front of it is on the second floor. And so our 1,500, 1,300, 1,600 rooms are all downstairs. 23, 22, 26 are on the second floor. And so in the building, there's three main staircases. Okay? And so there's one in the commons, and I've circled them, actually it's 4, not 3. I've circled them in red. If I can get my laser pointer to work here. So this one's in the commons. We're right here in the theater. We got the commons, we got one by the library, at the end of the library, and then way down by door 7, there's a back entrance that goes upstairs. Okay? But we also have some secondary options. The doors are closed, and so most kids, until they figure it out, don't think that you can go in there. But these in the back of the academic areas, those go straight up to from the 13 to the 2300 wing, and then these go from the 1600 to the 2600 wing. And so you don't have to go out to the main hallway and waste 3 minutes walking there just to get up and backtrack. Okay? I encourage you, if you haven't done it tonight, take some time to find efficient routes between your classes so that if you have to use the restroom, if you have to meet up with a friend, or you need to talk to a teacher, you can do so and get where you need to go in a timely manner, okay? Elevators. So we've got a couple of them. One right here, that's right in the commons, and then one down by door 7. So if you need an elevator, there's no keys, no passes, it's not locked. If you need one because you got injured, or whatever the case may be, and that helps you get upstairs quicker, use it, okay? It's there for efficiency. Restrooms, let's take a look at those because those are a big thing as well. So our restrooms are highlighted in yellow. Got one down by the commons, we've got one here. I didn't highlight this back here by the theater, that's actually back in here. There's some right up by the commons. There's another more private one back here in the 1600 area. And then over here in the main hallway, there's a set of bathrooms. But then when you come back in the academic wing, there's another set there that are back to back. And it looks the same on the second floor as well. Okay? So if you need a restroom or a water fountain, you don't have to walk too terribly far from any classroom to get there. We would just ask that if at all possible, if you leave class, go to the one closest to your classroom. There are some situations that have come up that force kids to just go a little bit further, and that's fine, but just for efficiency's sake, take the quickest one. Okay? Plan your route, move quickly, be on time. You have 5 minutes passing time in between classes. From down in this area, the commons area, to the far north end of the building is called the Mustang Mile for a reason. But even in 5 minutes, you can make that trek pretty dang easily, as long as you keep walking, okay? All right, couple pieces of advice, okay? And this doesn't matter if you're a freshman or a senior, just advice, it's never too late to do any of this stuff. So get involved in something. Like Corey said, we have a wealth of groups, clubs, organizations, teams, whatever the case may be. Find something that interests you and get involved. During flex time, we will have teachers that offer some kind of voice and choice sessions, and it'll be things that they're interested in or they know kids are interested in. And the more informal groups and clubs, for instance, we have a teacher that runs a music industry club. He plays in a band on the weekends, and they just play music and talk music, and that's what they do for 40 minutes once a week, okay? And that draws in a crowd of kids that are interested in that, and then they have a common interest, something they can talk about. There's an improv club, so they'll come down here to the black box, and they'll just do improv acting. So if you're into that stuff, and you want to take a brain break and go do that, okay? We have an outdoors club. 3 of our teachers teach that once a week. And one of them has a husband that is one of the managers at Shields in the hunting department. So they bring in stuff, they do demonstrations, and they talk hunting, fishing, camping, outdoor life. So if that interests you, get involved with something like that. Something bigger than yourself. It's important for success in school. Take advantage of your flex time, okay? Like I said, it's like, what, 164 minutes a week that you are given to make choices that are gonna help you out. Make sure you take advantage of that. Be prepared, be ready when you step in the classroom to engage with your peers and your teacher. If you're not one that likes to be social, and you're a little more withdrawn and uncomfortable, push yourself a little bit to get comfortable, okay? There are jobs out there that you can work in isolation, but many of them, entail some kind of collaboration. Push yourself to get out there and meet some people and be a productive member of your classroom. Take classes that interest you, okay? In the spring, you're gonna register for classes for the next year. Figure out what interests you. Try something new. Push yourself. Take an AP class or an honors class. For those things, you don't have to be the best student in order to take them. Jump in there and see what it's all about. You don't have to take all of them. Take one. Give it a shot. Pushing yourself in those classes is important. It will make you and help you grow as a student. Volunteer your time. If you're not in a million things, or even if you are, get out and volunteer. When there's opportunities here to do that, volunteer your time. The students that we had doing this last year weren't always students that you would think would just go out and do that, and they were the ones that were going after it the hardest. Okay? Track that stuff. As a senior, you'll have to report back on how many hours of volunteer work did you do. Whether that's with a team or a group or a club, or just something that you're doing on your own, get out there and help your community out a little bit. And then the last thing is just do unto others, okay? Treat people kindly. This is a large school. We don't have room for your conflict. It completely derails what everybody's trying to do. But with that said, I know with 1,500 kids in the building, we're gonna have it. But let's, no one has time for that. Lives are busy. It's hard enough being a teenager and managing social media and school and all your activities. Let's keep the negativity out by just treating people right. Attendance. I'm not going to read all this stuff to you. The bottom line is you need to be here. We can't teach you and you can't learn if you don't come to school. Okay? And so one of our biggest issues last year was attendance. Our attendance dipped 4 or 5% over the last few years for numerous reasons. But we're going to focus our efforts on bringing that back where it needs to be. We need to hit 95% or higher on our attendance rate, and so that's our goal. And so things that you will see is, and that'll come up on another slide with communication, but we'll communicate with you on your students' attendance. And I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. There are a few things that you should know. If you have a medical note from any appointment, bring it in. It's coded M. It doesn't count against your attendance. Okay? If you're in an activity and you're leaving for part of a day or the day, it's coded as an A for activity. It doesn't count against your attendance. And if there's any other special circumstance, whether it's an emergency, a funeral, something comes up in the day and a student can't go to class, but we have them in our office working with them, we'll code that as an S for special. Okay? So those things do not count against your attendance. The ones that do, if you don't show up and no one calls you in, it's going to be a UV, it's unverified. And then that changes depending on whether a parent or guardian calls and excuses it. Then it goes to an excused absence. If they don't, then it goes to a truant. Okay? And when we hit that 5 truant absences, 7 truant absences, 10, that's when our conversations get a little bit more in depth, and we have to do certain things to work with that family on making sure we can turn this around. Okay, Closed versus open campus. Is there anyone in here that's not a freshman? Couple? Okay, perfect. So all ninth graders have a closed campus all year. That means you have a study hall or a schedule full of classes, but you don't get to leave campus. That means lunch is also closed. So the expectation as ninth graders is that you stay here, you eat here, or you bring your own lunch, whatever you want to do there. But you don't leave the building from the time you start school till the time you are done with school. Upperclassmen, you have open campuses if you want one. Some take the full load of classes, some take an open. You're free to move about the building or out of the building during that open period. That is a privilege though. It is not a right. And so one thing that we will all do, if you're not holding up to your end as a student, is we'll probably take that open away and lock you down a little bit so that we can work with you, okay? And so, no, most people don't like that. And so, make sure that as an upperclassman, you're using that time wisely as well. The last thing doesn't really fit in here, but I didn't know where else to put it. As you can imagine, with all the food delivery apps and things like that are out there, kids order food to the building. And then it gets delivered to the office, and no one comes and picks it up. And then moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, and kids get very angry that food sat there and no one told them that it was here. That is not something that our office is gonna take on, so please don't order food here unless you're planning to go outside and pick it up, okay? Seems like an odd conversation to have, but it happens more than you would think. So whether that's Grubhub or ordering a pizza or whatever, if you're not willing to come down and get it, because you're in class and can't, or you forget, or you think it's someone else's job, please think again. Don't do that. Tardies in detention. If you're tardy, at every fifth one in a class will move to an unexcused absence. Unexcused absences lead to truancy. Truancy leads to typically not passing classes. So show up on time. We're all late to things from time to time. Every now and again, not such a big deal, but when it becomes habitual, it's very disruptive to the classroom and to that teacher. Cell phones. How many of you at Liberty got to have your cell phone in class last year? No one? Okay, so our deal here is that you can carry that thing with you, but the second you walk into a classroom for study hall, flex time, advisory, or a class, or if that class moves to another area of the building, like the theater, or the library, or the multi-purpose room, the expectation is from bell to bell, that phone is off or silent, in a pocket or a backpack, preferably the backpack, okay? The nuts and the bolts of this are that we want kids to engage with teachers, and teachers to engage with kids. I'm gonna ask the teachers to do the same thing I'm asking you to do, and I'm gonna follow that as well. You will very rarely see me with a phone out unless you hear a ding going off and I've got something reminding me of a meeting that I gotta go to or something I need to do. That's about the only time you'll see my phone. And if you see it more than that, please feel free to call me out. But I figure that if I'm gonna ask you to do something, I'm gonna need to do the same thing. In the semester last year that we worked on this, I left my phone in the office a lot, and man, it was nice. Like, the thing wasn't going off, I missed a few meetings, but no one was harmed in that. So that's what we're gonna ask, okay? We can talk consequences, but that's not really the big thing. Just know that if you can't comply with it, eventually someone's gonna have to come pick that phone up, and you probably aren't gonna be allowed to have it here, okay? But if you can police it the way it's intended to be used here, you're gonna be more than fine. We had very few issues last year, and that's why we're gonna continue with it. The engagement level increased. I saw lots of student anxiety drop, simply because I don't have to feel like I have to keep up with my friend on social media, because they're not doing it right now either. And so I felt like it was a really good move. Obviously not super popular amongst the student body, but the bulk of them played along really well. And so that's where we're gonna go with that. You can use it in the hallways. You can have it on you at lunch, on your open period. It's not in the classroom setting. Okay. Eligibility. This, if you have questions after this, please ask. Because it's kind of, it makes sense to me, doesn't necessarily make sense to everybody else. But essentially, you have to pass 5 classes every week in order to be eligible. Okay? Most of you will have 6 classes, and so it's very odd that you could fail one and still be eligible, but that's the board policy, and we're following along with the North Dakota High School Activities Association rules. Right now, there's a list in place from last spring semester 2 grades of students that are ineligible, and that is in place until September 12th, unfortunately. So freshmen, if you're in things that eligibility is a requirement for, understand that you still have to pass 5 classes at the end of semester 2 if you want to participate in the fall. Okay? Once September 12th rolls around, we'll generate a list pretty much weekly. The only exception is if we have some short weeks. We may keep a list in place because we're only in school 2-3 days. It doesn't make sense to really pull anything because nothing can really change. Okay? Once you're on the list, being eligible for the week, you do not come off. You're on there for the entire week. The only way you can come off that list is if a teacher puts in an incomplete, in which then, once that work's made up, that grade changes and then you're eligible. Really, the only scenario where that's the case is student bombed a test and they have a chance to retake it maybe and haven't had time, so they're going to put an incomplete in until they get that done. Or a student misses a test or is sick for a few days and some things didn't get turned in when they're supposed to. There might be an incomplete in there. But by and large, you have to have a passing grade, D or higher, in 5 classes. Some of you, very few students have less than 5 classes for, certain circumstances. If that's the case, you have to just be passing all of them. If you have a block class, that counts as 2 periods. So if you're passing it, that's 2 in the win column. If you're failing it, unfortunately, that's not 2 in the win column. So how can you make sure that you don't get on that list? Use your study hall, use your flex time, use your open period, use your class time, and if you have to, take stuff home. Okay? You should have plenty of time during the day to get your work done though. Alright, parking. Anyone driving in here? Very few. We'll keep it quick. Parking has changed. Staff are going to park at door 7 out here. We had a number of issues with that door with kids pulling on it when they were parking back there, and it's broken. It locks, it's secure, it's safe, but it can't withstand another year of kids tugging on that thing. So, the fix is right here. Right here is student parking, and then on the west side too. That's from a presentation from earlier, sorry. You're going to enter through door 26. So if you park over here, that's typically going to be those that come late. That's where your parking is going to be. You'll have to walk around to door 26. If it's at the beginning of school, it'll be open. If you're coming back off an open period, there's a buzzer system there. You just hit the button, the ladies in the office will open the door for you. They can see you on camera. Here's door 1, that's the front door. You can walk in there and then straight into the office. You have to go through the office to get there though. That's the only way. The other doors will be locked. And that's really it for parking. You need a parking pass too, so if you don't have one, make sure you get one. Backpacks. You carry backpacks as students. We do not assign lockers. But if you're one that wants a locker at any point in the year, you swing down to the office, you let the ladies know, and they will assign you one. Okay? If you're unsure, try it out for a few days will help, and then see if you think you need one. But it is truly just one more stop when you can keep all the materials you really need in a backpack. But that will leave up to you. School lunch, and so you either put money in the account through My School Bucks. There's free and reduced lunch forms out there if you want to fill that out. See if you qualify. There's that option too. I would encourage everybody to do that. okay? This has been sent out, but important dates, first day of school is Thursday, okay? Make sure you're here. School pictures, I believe a message came out today with a form that we just received with a QR code, so you can go straight to the website. But there's also forms in the office if you are a paper pencil person. If you missed that date or you took a bad picture, retakes are October 7th. And then a new event offered by the Bank of North Dakota on the 31st as well, at the Lights, is this high school parent launch party. And so a bulk of the conversation there will be on the new Choice Ready matrix that we follow as a state, and in the changes being made to the North Dakota Scholarship, which will follow that Choice Ready matrix pretty much to a T. And so new information on that and who it affects, there's a little bit of wiggle room, I think up through this year's seniors to attain the scholarship the old way, but the new way, even I looked at it, I gotta go back through it, having a student that's only a sophomore, he'll have to follow that if he wants it, and so I too will have to go and get a little more well-versed in that. First plate starts September 7th. Homecoming is coming pretty quick, the week of September 12th. If you want to come to coronation, that'll be in the evening on the 12th. And then also the homecoming game Friday with a dance to follow. All students are welcome to come to that dance, okay? Ninth graders, make sure you get there. It's usually pretty fun. That's the only dance you can typically go to. The others are typically upperclassmen. And so bring a friend, make sure you get out and have some fun. Our dances are pretty well attended. And not sure we'll have for a DJ this year, but we do have a guy on staff that did it for, what was it?
Prom.
He did it for prom?
Or was it winter formal?
Winter formal, yep. And so kids had a blast with that, so we're gonna ask him to do it again. If not, we'll get another DJ. But make sure you get out and do that and have a little fun. If you have a friend from another school and you want to bring that person, we will have forms in the office that you can fill out. We just have to check in with that school and make sure that that student is okay and eligible to attend here. The other metro schools do the same thing, so if you want to attend something there, you'll have to do that as well. Quarter one conferences are up there, or actually 1 through 4. We're going to do something different this year. And try to hit the middle of every quarter so that if a student needs some kind of an adjustment because things aren't going very well in any certain class, we should have time to fix that. And so we're hoping to deliver those on time. I felt like the dates we've had in the past were towards the end of a quarter where nothing was really salvageable. And so I'm hoping that that will work out. This date here, I've had so many documents. This is actually a Thursday. That Monday is incorrect. Monday's the 12th, Thursday the 15th is the actual date, okay? Prom, Saturday, April 29th, and graduation is Sunday, May 28th. Are there any seniors in here? One, okay? There will be information going to families of seniors soon, I believe after Labor Day, to look at 2 different venues for graduation. And we want people to weigh in on that, so please look for that. This is the Choice Ready stuff I talked about. I'm not going to talk a ton about it, but you can go out to the North Dakota DPI website, and there's a wealth of information out there about that. If you want free money, I think up to $6,000, and you can check all those boxes because you put some time and effort into school. And and you're going to go to a North Dakota college or university, this is a really good thing, okay? They're making it so that if you get this, you have the experiences to both be well-rounded and do well in college. And so if that interests you, please take a look at that. You can talk to your counselor or one of us administrators about it. We're not going to do the work for you to make sure you're checking all the boxes. But if you have questions, we can certainly guide you in the right way, okay? And so it's up to you to keep track of this. It's up to us to help guide that conversation. Communication. Every 2 weeks, you'll get a newsletter from us. and that'll be to parents and teachers. The first one was very, very long. They will never be that big again. I can promise you. I don't personally love to read that much information. I just felt like in order for families to plan, they needed all that information. Going forward, I even looked at the first one, or the next one coming out, and we've already by then we'll have knocked 3 things off the list of events coming up. And so that'll shrink, and the information will shrink to just what you need to know, okay? So that's one way we'll communicate. Blackboard messaging is what that comes out of, but that's another way. If we need to get something out to you quick, that's what we're gonna do, okay? And then for attendance and grades, you will get a text. Mr. Vaughn here? For sure a text. I think it's set up for email too, but for sure a text. So every Friday, you'll get a high or low grade alert. If you have a high grade in the class, you're gonna get a text that indicates that. If your grade is, I think, a D or lower, you're gonna get a text about that. Very quick information that allows you to have a conversation without having to log into PowerSchool initially, okay? Attendance, you'll get that by period via text. About 5 minutes after each period ends, if your student was unverified, you will get a text message about that, okay? It won't be like the phone dialer in the past where it would say it was period 11 and we don't have that. That pulled directly from PowerSchool for every time increment that we had put in. This one will actually tell you your student was absent from 4B or period 6, period 1, okay? And that gives you an opportunity to get in touch with that student and go, where are you at? Why aren't you here? What's the big deal, okay? And then we can rectify that if it was a mistake. Or help fix it if they did skip a class. Oops. Your student reaches 5 days absent, you're gonna get a text and email as well. And that's gonna indicate that you're halfway to the point of no return for that semester. Because at 10 days, you could potentially lose credit, okay? Some of these things move very quickly. We're not gonna strip credit when the clock turns over to 10 days, but it is gonna trigger us to have conversations with families in hopes that we can fix it. And so just know that's coming. We have it set for 7 days as well. So you could very well get 6 or 7 messages in one day. And it could be because you took a vacation, okay? We would encourage you to do that when we have breaks, but we also know that's not always possible. So if that's the case, just call us, okay? Typically, we're gonna know that because you've already communicated it to us, but we can't pick and choose who those go to. They go out to everybody, and it's for your information, and, so you know where your students are attendance-wise. If it freaks you out, call right away. We'll have the conversation, and we'll get it all ironed out. But we just want to increase that level of communication in hopes that we can increase student attendance. Okay, we're almost done here. These are the ways you can stay informed. Okay, go out and take a look at those. If you've never looked at Mustang Media, they cover a lot of our events, and they do it really well. It's run by one of our instructional coaches and a bunch of our students, and they do one heck of a job putting out content for our contests. So if you don't want to go to the football game Friday night, if you kind of want to tune in, they'll actually be live broadcasting that on YouTube. They pull us and others up at halftime and do little cameo interviews. They talk. It's kind of neat, so I'd encourage you to check that out. They don't do just sports. What else have they done? They do theater and prom and stuff like that. So not just sports, primarily sports. And that started out of a need because no one could go to them, but they're taking on more and more as time goes on.
They have band concerts.
Yep, concerts.
Musicals, things like that.
And that is it. I will stick around here because some of you may have questions. Otherwise, you're free to go. I do appreciate you coming in, and we will see all of you back here in a couple of days, Thursday morning.